I told our team this the other day. I grew up, a fan of college football. My dad was a coach, and there's certain things you watched every year. And every year of my life, I always watched the big game and paid attention to it and was aware of it, even though I was living in Texas. And it was to me, it was one of the great things. There's Michigan, Ohio State. There's the great rivalries in the SEC, and Texas and OU. But there was always Cal and Stanford, and to me that was always that was the big game. And so it's one of those rivalries that you want to be a part of. You want to work yourself in a position to coach someplace like Cal, where you get to play in big games like this, and games that have great tradition and great history. So I have a tremendous respect for the rivalry, and and really fortunate to get to play against a good football team. I mean, everybody knows Stanford's got a good football team. Everybody, understands that right now in our programs we're kind of in two different places. But our kids are excited to go play, anxious. They understand that this is a great way to end the season on a big note, for us to go play well and win the game Saturday. And so they're fired up and practiced well last night, and just have a little bit different mentality, I think, which is a good thing for us. And so, we don't have a lot to lose, so we're going to go play as well as we can Saturday and see if we can't pull an upset.
Okay, questions for Sonny?
Sonny, you guys have not been as successful throwing the ball deep in recent weeks. Is that a function of Jared having some difficulty, or of your offensive line maybe not giving enough time, or do you think it's possible that opposing defenses are starting to figure out how to scheme you guys some?
Yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of everything. I think what always makes our down-the-field passing game go well is ability to complete short passes. What happens is when you execute at a high level in our type of offense, then you're consistently making the 5 and 6 yard easy throws. And when you do that at a high level, then what happens is, like any defense, then number one, they're going to be more inclined to blitz, or number two, they're going to tighten their coverage up a little bit. And when they tighten up the coverage, that gives you, some possibilities to go down the field a little bit more. We had those against Colorado. I mean, you put the tape on, we had deep throw after deep throw after deep throw, and just didn't complete them. Part of it was, you guys that were there, wind was blowing 40 and gusty, and then we just got to execute better. Again, that's on us, and we've got to do a better job. And then a lot of it is matchups. How well does this receiver match up with this corner, and what kind of technique does he play, and and all those kind of things. So it's a byproduct of a lot of different things. And
when you don't have success on first down, how much does that hurt you? It sort of led to, seems like, a lot of 3 and outs and getting your defense back on the field in a hurry.
Yeah, that was a problem for us Saturday. We just did not execute well. I mean, that was the biggest thing was, we made some big plays in the run game, didn't make any in the passing game, and didn't have a lot of consistent 4 and 5 yard gains. As I said, that we're, when we get good on offense here, that's going to be our bread and butter, is to be able to, to make those easy throws and run the routes consistently and complete the balls consistently and protect consistently. And, right now we'll have 10 guys doing the right thing and 1 guy breaking down. And, those kind of things have bit us all year. I can't tell you how many times we've called pass plays before where, Jared has a chance to read 2 different sides, and we look at one side of the play and everybody's covered, and the other side, guys are running uncovered and open, and it's just kind of been one of those years where, it's kind of been the perfect storm where, we just haven't been able to, haven't caught any breaks, and that's part of football, and we got to make our breaks. I mean, that's good. Football teams always make their breaks, and right now we're not a very good football team. We had made a lot of breaks for ourselves.
Sonny, as a coach, what is your mindset going into a game in which no one outside your your locker room gives you any chance of winning at all? What's your mindset?
It's just the great thing about playing in a game like that. First of all, there's really not any good things about playing in a game like that. Just because you want to be the favorite, you want to be the established program, you want to be all those things. But if you're not, and you're in a situation where we are, you can go into the game with a we have nothing to lose mentality, and you can play more aggressive and not be afraid. You can really coach your players hard all week to not be afraid to make mistakes and to play free and I think in some ways for a team that struggled, that's putting a lot of pressure on themselves to go out and perform, I think that's a good thing for our players because our guys are feeling the same thing everybody else is feeling, just that the disappointment and what happens is they want to do well and it takes a toll on them after a while, and so I think when you play somebody that is very good, as I said, I think those guys will be a little bit more relaxed, hopefully, and not afraid to make a mistake.
Part of the problem with going downfield, when you talk about half the field, he's not even looking at it and they're open. I mean, you have Bryce Tregg's a 10-7 guy. Is it part of it maybe Jared not as comfortable going to his left, being a young right-handed quarterback?
Not really. I don't think that's an issue. A lot of those guys, it's funny, a lot of the guys throw to their left better than they do their right, quarterbacks, and that's, and that varies from quarterback to quarterback. But, throwing to your right, a lot of it has to do with your hips and how your hips are open and shoulders and all that stuff, kind of the mechanics of throwing. But, typically those guys don't throw as well running to their left, but throw better to their left. Than they do to the right. They throw better running to the right, but probably not as well stationary to the right. And that's kind of the experience for most quarterbacks. So I don't think that's really necessarily an issue. People have, we had Bryce open several times the other night, overthrew him on a couple of different occasions, and so we just got to do a better job of getting those balls in balance and letting our receivers make some plays.
Sonny, what do you think of the state of your running game? Obviously, last two games, almost 200 yards, but now you're facing one of the most stout defenses in the country. Their front set pretty tough. Are you curious to see how your offensive line will fare?
Yeah, I am. I'm curious to see how they're going to hold up. I mean, Stanford stops the run as well as anybody in college football. I mean, USC, I think they have about 25 yards rushing last week on something like 27 carries. So they were right at about a yard a carry, I think. Yeah, and Oregon was worse, and Oregon's been pretty good running the football. So, I'm not naive enough to think that we're going to line up and run for 300 yards Saturday. If we do, it'll be a bit of a surprise to everybody, me included. But we think we've got some opportunities to run the football. We need to run it. You always need to be able to run the ball. It takes heat off of your young quarterback, and so the more we can run the ball and more effectively we can do that, as I said, then the more heat you can take off a true freshman quarterback.
Are your offensive linemen excited about this kind of a challenge?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, our guys are looking forward to it. I mean, Stanford's obviously a good football team. I mean, they're what you would expect from a very mature team that's playing with a lot of guys that have been 3 and 4 year starters. They're big, first of all. They're long. A lot of the guys are long-armed guys, tall guys. But the thing that stands out for Stanford is, two things. They get off blocks as well as anybody that you're going to face, and they tackle probably better than anybody you're going to play against. And so if you want to have a good defense, those are the two things that you do. You get off blocks and you tackle. And they do both those things very well.
Sonny, you said you paid attention to this rivalry, growing up. Any particular games stand out in your memory, man?
Well, obviously the play was pretty significant. Cal Stanford game. What was that? 82. I was 12. Yeah. Actually, I don't know if I saw it live, but I was aware of it right after it happened. Was it on television? I don't even know. It wasn't live. Yeah. I remember seeing the play. I mean, obviously right afterwards, and was pretty blown away by what went down. And it's something that I've referenced, many times through the years, kind of in coaching, is just the fact you never know when a game's over, and that's why we talk to our guys all the time about playing 60 minutes and how important it is to play all 60. And I mean, week after week after week in college football, things happen. I mean, you guys probably saw Georgia Auburn last week, where, I mean, that was just a ball bouncing in the right spot, and I mean, literally hits off 2 Georgia players and bounces right into the Auburn guy's hands, and if it lands probably 6 inches to the left or the right, he doesn't catch it. Literally landed right in his hands, and so, that's college football, and that's the way things go sometimes, and. But as I said, I grew up. I always liked quarterbacks, and Stanford's always had some good quarterbacks, and then Cal's got a tradition of having great quarterbacks, and so, to me, this was always a game to pay attention to, because not only was the tradition of the game really good, but you were going to get to see really good quarterbacks playing this game, and both teams have had a history of really good quarterbacks, and as I said, Cal's got as good a history of quarterbacks probably as anybody.
What's your impression of their quarterback, of Hogan? He wins the games,
Yeah,
but he hasn't had a sparkling season this year statistically. And
yeah, he's a get-it-done guy, and he's a good player, and I mean that in the highest sense of flattery that you can flatter a quarterback. I mean, that's the ultimate thing you can say about a quarterback is he gets it done. And Kevin Hogan does that. I mean, he's, if he needs to run the ball for 3 yards, he gets 3.5. If he makes good decisions, he's operates within the framework of their offense very well. He's a winner. I think that's the key is, he figures out ways to win football games, and so that's how you really judge quarterbacks. And and the statistics don't mean much. I mean, Stanford's going to win. Stanford's not trying to have the number 1 offense in college football. They're trying to have the number 1 team, and I think that's, they've got a formula for doing that, and it's been pretty effective.
Now, Gaffney has obviously been very successful, but is it primarily him, or is it the line, or what's made their running game go?
Starts up front. Yeah, 2 things. I think number 1, just a commitment to running the football. I think that started when they hired Jim Harbaugh and has carried over with David. It's just, hey, that's their personality. That's who they are. That's what they're going to do. And so they've got that mentality, and I think it's. They've built their program around that when it comes to strength and conditioning and recruiting and everything. And so they're going to recruit big people up front. They're going to make them strong. They're going to develop them. They're going to have big backs, and then they're going to run the power, and stop us. And that's kind of their philosophy. And as I said, they've done a good job of it. When everybody else has gone to the spread stuff, they've gone the other way, and I think it served them well. I think that's part of being a successful football coach, is figuring out where you are, whether it's a high school, and you're going to have a lot of big linemen, or it's a high school where you're going to have a lot of speed, just depending on the makeup of your high school. And it's kind of that way at Stanford. They figured out, hey, look, we can go recruit offensive linemen. Those kind of guys are going to want to come here, and so let's build our program around that mindset of playing tough, physical, hard-nosed, aggressive football, and and they can go find those type of kids to come in their program and execute well. I hope I answered the question. Okay.
Can you explain on Saturday? And there may be a great reason for this, but I didn't get it. Why, when you're playing a receiver like Paul Richardson, you would just match him up on whichever side, and instead of putting Cam on him the whole game, you got a guy very inexperienced. Cedric's only been playing the position for weeks.
Yeah. We tried to. What we tried to do was we tried to get somebody over the top. So if Cedric was playing with Paul, we tried to was playing on Paul rather. We tried to have somebody that was going to be over the top, and make it where it wasn't necessarily some one-on-one things. And then like anything else, I mean, they're going to scheme it to where if you're playing a 2 safety look, whether it's quarters or cover 2 or whatever, that, they can eat up that safety sometimes with a scheme. And so it happened to us a couple times. I mean, we gave up a post, early in the ball game, Cedric actually covered it. The ball was a little underthrown. Probably could have intercepted it. Thought he was going to when the ball was first thrown. Because Cedric's really, of all our defensive backs, probably has the best ball skills of anybody. And I think Cedric got a little rattled after that because he was in such good position on the ball and just didn't make the play. And so again, for a freshman that hadn't played a lot, I think that hurt his confidence a little bit. And then, that's kind of what happened to us. And so there shouldn't have been too many one-on-one matchups, and there weren't that many between Richardson and Dozier. They're just, unfortunately for us, when there was, he made a play. And there was a lot of times where, again, we had a safety rolled over the top. And they moved him around in the formation, at times to try to get him singled up on guys. No, we can. Yeah, we can. Yeah, we could flip the corners, and we did some. Yeah, we did some, depending on what kind of package we're in, and if he didn't have help over the top, then Cam was going to cover him normally.
Sonny, do you envision having Goff punt in this game, or was that just unique to the Colorado circumstances?
We could see that from time to time. I mean, that's all we were trying to do was number one, it was designed to give us an opportunity to go for it in some fourth down situations, around close to midfield if we felt like the situation warranted that. We got called for a delay of game when we were considering punting once, and we're about to snap the ball, and we just let the play clock run out. I think that was in the second quarter. And part of it was, our punt team had struggled the week before. It was a way to take a little bit of pressure off of those guys. And then, the idea was to try to down the ball inside the 20, which I think we did once.
And talking about your coverage units, what kind of challenge does Montgomery
Montgomery's
present?
a big challenge. Yeah, obviously, it's averaging 30 yards a kickoff return. I think the tops in the country. So we're going to have a plan for that, and and our guys have got to do a great job covering, getting off blocks. And that's again, it makes sense that Stanford's good at that because it's they're good at guys playing in space. They're physical. They do a good job staying on blocks, and so you would think kickoff return would be a unit that again, based on their personnel, that they'd be good at, and they are good at it.
Sonny, given the extreme injury situation you've had on defense, how do you judge how your defense has played this year, and how do you judge the performance that Andy's given you as your coordinator?
The thing about it is like anything. I mean, it's it's easy. It's easier for your editor to judge you guys because they see you write every day. And it's easier for me to judge Andy because I see him coach every day, and that's just the way the world works. And so I have complete confidence in him and his staff. I mean, those guys know what they're doing, and they'll get it done. I don't have any doubt about that. It's been, as you said, it's been an unusual year just in terms of injuries and youth. And the thing that's been disappointing for me as a program has been, if you look back and you say, okay, week 1 Northwestern, and you say, week 11 Colorado, and you say, boy, the team's gotten worse. And that's disappointing to me. But, and that's what we've talked about. I mean, every team I've ever coached or been a part of has always improved from week to week significantly. And this team hasn't improved that much because of the constant personnel changes, constant shuffling of people from position to position. And that hurts their growth. When you can leave a player at one spot and invest a lot of reps in him and get him better, then the player improves. When you are changing guys out all the time and then having to flip them from position to position, that stunts their growth as a player. And so that's what we've done this year. and that's why I think in a lot of ways, I've been disappointed. You throw the record out. I've been disappointed just because we haven't improved at the level that you want to improve at, and that's, I believe, a big part of the reason why. As I said, every football team or offense or whatever that I've coached in the past has always made significant improvement from week to week, and this group just hasn't.
How is Andy handling it? And I'm sure he doesn't go on the message boards and read all that stuff, but
yeah,
a lot of criticism, a lot of it probably personal and nasty. And how does he cope with just the?
Yeah, the thing about it is, if you're, look, anybody can get on a message board and have a fake identity and talk about stuff. That's, you know what I'm saying? There's guys on the message boards that have 4 personalities that have arguments with themselves. You know what I'm saying? Or 4 different, yeah, and so, you just can't take that stuff too seriously. I think so. And like you said, I don't know that he's coming in and checking those things every morning. I'm guessing he's not. I'm sure the same thing's been said about me. Or worse. I'm on Twitter to for recruiting and that kind of stuff, and like I said, I don't get the I'm going to kill your kids, but I get stuff from time to time that I'm not that excited about.
Any further questions?
Different subject. I'm told that you guys are in the process of perhaps hiring the athletic department hiring somebody to oversee football player academics. Is that correct? And what can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I'm not the person to ask about that at this stage. Yeah.
Okay. Is that true?
I don't know.